our next speaker is Jake Orak from Minnesota, US of A. Jake has been a product designer for 12 years. His socially responsible travel and laptop bag business, Ethnotech, employs artisans around the world, creating traditional handmade textiles built into every bag and backpack that Jake himself designs. He now runs his 6-year-old business online out of Ubud, but how he got here is a tale of climbing a tree of fuck-ups and falling out of that tree many times. Let's show him some love, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jake Orak.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. My story tonight is a love story. And, you guys primed it perfectly, thank you. Okay, so the story is of these shiny young people. And it starts in Minnesota in the U.S. We first started dating, my girlfriend at the time. Fresh out of university, I was working a corporate job. I was in a hard goods design job. I was designing stethoscopes, surgical iodine applicators, post-it note dispensers, so it was 3M. And it was a really cool job, but it was just not my thing. I was not digging the corporate vibe. And she had just graduated with a web design degree and wasn't vibing on that either. So we both kind of just chased what we wanted to do, and Africa was calling her. So she went to Tanzania to teach HIV/AIDS prevention education, and was there for 3 months, and I was job searching and eventually found a bag design job in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. So while she was in Africa, I moved to Vietnam and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. You're definitely welcome to join me if you want to. So she did. She came and joined me, and I got a degree in teaching English, so she was an English teacher. And I had a dream job. I had a warehouse full of colorful fabrics. I had a sample room at my disposal. I could just anything I could dream up, I would put it on paper, sketch it down, and hand it over to them, and it would be created in like 12 hours. So it was an awesome job, and we were there for about 3 years. And we both excelled at our jobs, and I eventually got a promotion from the company to help open up a new design and marketing office in Zurich, Switzerland. And it was still fresh in my career, and I was really, really excited about the opportunity. So I took the job without talking to her. So that's like my fuck up number one. So think of that as a seed of fuck ups that I'm about to tell you. It will blossom into a beautiful tree of fuck ups. So I took the job, said, yes, I'm in, count me in. And so went home that night and I said, babe, we're moving to Switzerland. And she was not impressed. I was like, why are you not excited? This is amazing, Switzerland. Obviously, because she was not involved in the discussion whatsoever, right? I just took the job, and we worked through it. We talked it through, made the best of it, and through that process, before we moved, we actually became engaged, and we did it. We moved to Switzerland, Zurich, Switzerland, from Ho Chi Minh City. Quite a change. And then things, we were making the best of it, but I was still being paid a Vietnam wage, which in Zurich, Switzerland, anyone who's been there, not so good. Beautiful place to be poor, though. So we made it work, and the company actually didn't help with relocation. They didn't help with visas. And what changed when we got there was my required international travel. So what actually ended up happening was I was gone half the year. I was traveling because we didn't have visas, any assistance in that arena. She had trouble finding work, and it was tough. It was really difficult, but we remained positive and made the best of it. And we eventually got married, and so yeah, we got married in Switzerland. Yeah. And it was awesome. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful life. And we took a week-long honeymoon through the Alps, drove around, did some snowboarding, ate some good food, drank some wine, and then returned back to our life in Zurich. And we had some mail, and I opened it up, and it was from about a week, right before we went on this holiday. And I could read a little bit of German, and what I could understand, what I read was not good. So I took it into the office the next day just to get it translated, and they confirmed. They said, this is not good. And it basically said that she, my now wife at the time, had 5 days to leave the country. So we received the letter, obviously a week ago, and it was, all that time had passed, because she didn't have the right paperwork in filing for her visa. So we had 5 days, had to make a decision, and don't ask me how, from one of the most neutral countries in the world, she was deported. Yeah, how does that happen? We managed to do it. So we had to make a decision. So we decided to send her back home to the States. So we sent her to the U.S. to be with family for support. And they said, it could take anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. And we're not going to put you up in a hotel on the border of Germany for 3 months. That's just not an option. So sent her home. While she was filing for the visa the correct way and visiting family, I was still traveling for work and working a lot. And when it came time for me to get my visa at the border of Germany, I went and they said, "Here's your visa, sir, and your wife's visa." I'm like, "Come again? Sorry?" "Yeah, your wife's visa. You recently became married. She gets the visa by default, your spouse's visa. There you go." It's like, "Oh, are you fucking kidding me?" So basically, obviously, what that means is that the trip to the U.S., all that stress, all that anxiety was pointless. Had her visa in hand. She ended up getting one from the U.S. anyway. Came back to Switzerland to join me. And at that point, we had enough. And so I resigned. I said, "This is not working out. Got to go home." But another fuck up, we didn't have any more money because we spent it on sending her to the U.S. And so we had to get a loan from the parents, but we did eventually make it back to the U.S. and got another job offer to move to Los Angeles as a senior designer. And of course, this time I talked it through with her. I'd be like, "Do you want to move for this job?" She agreed, and she was then a manager of a coffee shop in Pasadena, California, and we did the American Dream thing for a little while. We had a little house, we bought a puppy, but we just weren't happy. There was these gaps in our lives, and we just weren't happy. So I think all of this angst that had been building up in the relationship through all the international moves, the jobs being put first, really took its toll on the relationship, and we actually filed for divorce. And what's the lesson? The lesson is that do not put your career before the ones you love. Relationships are the most important things in anyone's life, so cherish those. And so that's what I learned. And that's not the end of our story, though. So we said, fuck it. She moved back to Vietnam on her terms because she wasn't ready to leave in the first place. Found an amazing teaching job that she loved. I started my own business in parallel, was still in the States for a while, and then launched it. And 2 weeks after launching the website, one of the biggest outdoor retailers in the US called up, said, "We want to carry your line." Said, "Fuck yeah," quit my job, moved back to Minnesota, and then joined her in Vietnam because our bags are produced there. And then she was basically the sugar mama for the next 2 years while I was not taking any income and putting it back in the business. So she paid all the bills. It was nice. I had a bed, and and so we came full circle all the way back to Vietnam, and we had a do-over. We had a clean slate to start over with the understanding that we're going to communicate always, and it's a 50-50 decision, this life. And after what we had been through, we can get through anything. So that's what we did. We spent the next 4 or 5 years in Vietnam, and while I was building the business, and it became bigger and bigger and more successful. And after her teaching gig kind of ran its course, we were ready for a change. And I think I did probably the smartest thing that I've ever done, and I hired her to be our COO. And now that she was, we had location independence and said, "Where do you want to go?" And she's like, "I heard Bali is pretty cool." So we came here just to check it out like about 1.5 years ago to see if it's a place we really want to live. And for sure, like 3 days in, we're like, yeah, this is going to happen. And of course, it makes sense to be close to Vietnam for production. So she chose. We moved here to Bali about 1 year ago. And we launched a Kickstarter campaign. And we tapped into this amazing, incredible, inspiring community. this co-working space of amazing individuals that inspire us on the daily. And they helped us pivot our business online. And this Kickstarter campaign, she ran all of the customer service and operations, not just some of it, all of it. And we had a really successful 6-figure raise. And our business is, it's the best it's ever been. And as you can tell, we're pretty excited about it. And I would like to say, she's here in the audience right now. I'd like to say, baby, I love you. I'm sorry. You're amazing. You're a rock star. Yeah. And to all of you people, thank you for listening to our story and letting me share. Thanks. Should we bring Corey up? No? Okay. Encore.
Corey, would you like to come up? Touche.
Well said.